On June 2nd, 2020, Meghan McCain tweeted, "My neighborhood in Manhattan is eviscerated and looks like a war zone. De Blasio and Cuomo are an utter disgrace. This is not America. Our leaders have abandoned us and continue to let great American cities burn to the ground and be destroyed. I could never have fathomed this." And Kristen Bartlett quoted that and said, "Meghan, we live in the same building and I just walked outside. It's fine." This is the Museum of Twitter, the show we talk about the most important tweets in the history of Twitter.com. So I live in New York, and I've had to endure the last couple weeks of people saying the dumbest lies about New York, calling it a hellhole, talking about how unsafe it is, and so I wanted to talk about a tweet where someone was put in their place for saying that. Because the fact of the matter is, yes, New York sometimes has bad things happen, but it's way safer than almost any other major American city. And it's certainly much safer than it was when most people who say stuff about New York were children. There were over 2,200 murders in 1990 and less than 400 in 2023 with a bigger population. And this dunk truly could not have happened to a better person. Meghan McCain is of course what would happen if the phrase, "Don't you know who my father is?" had a wish and wished to become a person. And this was tweeted during the George Floyd protests of 2020. And like many people on the right, she was trying to make it seem like major American cities were being torn to the ground. Of course, this was not actually the case because New York was not torn to the ground. It's fine. And there's a lot of evidence for that, but one of the pieces of evidence was the fact that Kristen Bartlett, who lived in Meghan McCain's building, walked outside and it was fine. As you can see from the numbers on here, this dunk was epic and it was retweeted all over. Us Weekly wrote a story about it, but unfortunately Kristen Bartlett's account is no longer active, so I couldn't see what people directly responded to that with. But it quickly became a reference point. Like Matt Prigge said, "My mom texted me saying, 'I bet you can't ride your bike in NYC right now.' And it appears the perception in the heartland is we've descended into Soylent Green or Escape from New York. As Meghan McCain's neighbor says, it's fine." Also doing research for this, I found out that Meghan McCain has me blocked on Twitter, because now Elon has it, where if you search for tweets, you can still see tweets from people who blocked you, which seems counterintuitive, but yeah, she blocked me on Twitter, I guess. But a contour to this story, which I actually had forgot happened, which really makes this one of the funniest things that's ever happened dunk-wise on Twitter, is that it was revealed that Meghan McCain was not in New York at all. As this headline from Vanity Fair says, Meghan McCain claimed Manhattan was a, quote, war zone while holed up in Virginia. And the best part of this is that this was reported by Page Six, and when Page Six reached out to her for comment, she said, "I'm 6 months pregnant. A gossip organization is about to run a story of where me and my family are currently. I sent a tweet yesterday based on the news I saw was happening in Midtown, and we have all been watching all over different media platforms." So not only was she lying about New York being a war zone, she was lying about being in New York. I mean, she calls it her neighborhood, and I'm sure she wouldn't have lived there at some point in her life, but she was not living there at the time she tweeted that, and clearly that's misleading. I think the reason why this is so special is, one, people like seeing Meghan McCain get dunked on, because once again, she's contributed absolutely nothing to the world besides being John McCain's daughter. I think that people like it because it has the same energy of the Dakota Johnson, that's not true, Ellen. I think a lot of us are just completely tired, and it's only gotten worse, of people just saying blatant lies about the world, and just expecting to let them get away with it. And it's nice that Kristen had the first-person experience to be like, no, you're saying that this is your experience, this is your perception, but I literally live in the same place as you, and my perception is not that, so you're wrong. This is not an episode where I have a bunch of references or people making memes of this, because this is kind of a one-of-one time, but I do think it is a good reminder of how crazy people were on Twitter during the George Floyd protests. As Matt Prigge said, there really were people who thought that every city in the country was becoming like Escape from New York, and especially when people say that about New York, it's so wild, because when you live in New York, you just walk around, and that's normal, and it's fine. The amount of times my mom is afraid for me on the subway, and I'm like, the worst thing that could happen to you on the subway is that someone is singing poorly and asking for money. Oh, and a time I recently just saw this reference was on Blue Sky when Justin Baragona posted this from Twitter. I know that this is two Blue Sky posts referencing a tweet, but whatever. Where John Levine tweeted, "I was not allowed to Mom Donnie's event for obvious reasons, but Al Jazeera was standing behind me. I overheard them crowing that we had no trouble getting in. They like us." And Ross Barkin said, "John, I was with you. You told me you didn't submit any RCP. You probably should have." To which Matt Miller responded with a screenshot of the Kristen Meghan change. I think there's something hardwired into us as humans that we like people getting their comeuppance. And there's really no better comeuppance than "I was just with you," or "I live in the same place as you. You're lying." And in this era where so many of the worst people in the world are constantly allowed to get away with constant lying, it does just give us such a tiny amount of catharsis to see someone be like, "No, I know you're lying. I have receipts." But it is just catharsis. It doesn't actually stop them from lying. Meghan McCain's just gotten worse since then. Follow me for new tweet every day, and if you like the show, please go to patreon.com/Museum of Twitter. You get a weekly bonus episode called the Museum of Not Twitter, and you get access to my Discord where you can vote when I cover on subscriber Sundays.